how can we stop the foreign fundings for anti-India activities? Do you think our government is doing enough to prevent these fundings? I think the government is very aware of what's happening. I'm sure it's monitoring the bank accounts of all the anti-India organizations that exist within India. We know that most of them get foreign funding, yeah, funding from abroad. Now, I'm not going to specify the names of any organizations. I think we all know roughly what they are. Yeah, I am sure the Indian government is keeping a very close eye on it. Now, the question is, why doesn't India stop all this? Because there is foreign geopolitical pressure. Most of this funding comes from the West. Some of it may come from other places. The other places from which the funding comes, we have good relationships. We have developed good close relationships of late with those other places. When it comes to the West is antagonistic to India. They would like nothing to than to see India balkanized. And what better way to balkanize India than create fissures and divisions within India? And for that you use, well, religion and other things, and we know what the deal is. I don't want to go into specifics. Yeah, and for that you need money, and that money comes in the form of US dollars. Billions of US dollars are poured into these activities, into the bank accounts of various organizations in India every year. Billions of dollars for various such activities that all fall under freedom of expression, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and human rights, and all that. Yeah, right now the world order, the so-called rules-based world order, is entirely dominated by the West, which means the US, and you cannot do certain things beyond a certain point right now. Yeah, so they are able to influence the internal affairs of India also, less than they influence the internal affairs of other nations, but it's still there. And certain things, it is maybe not the right time to do it. We need to first rise a little bit more. So how do we stop the foreign fundings is the question. Hmm? The foreign fundings, once again, I repeat, come in the form of US dollars. For a nation like India to, let's say, India has a certain amount of foreign exchange reserves. Yes, I don't know what the quantity is right now, but let's say India wants to acquire an extra $100 billion in terms of US dollars in foreign exchange reserves. What does India have to do for that? India has to trade and earn that extra $100 billion. If China wants to increase its foreign exchange reserves by $100 billion, they have to trade and earn that money. It's a lot of effort. Yeah. If the US wants to earn $100 billion, what do? They print it. They print the money, either real money or digitally. That money is controlled by them. They can create new money out of thin air anytime they want. That is the unfair advantage the US has. And that's why they can keep on pushing any amount of money into India for anti India activities. Do you understand this? That is the true strength and power that they have. So, right now, there is a concerted move in a certain direction, geopolitically. Nations are looking for alternatives to the US dollar. There is talk of a BRICS currency. The Indian rupee is now accepted in certain nations as a foreign, as a currency for foreign trade. In Sri Lanka, in other nations as well, the Indian UPI is getting. It is being adopted in various nations. So and many nations are now willing to willing to purchase oil using Indian rupees. The Russians are they are willing to take Indian rupees in exchange for oil. Yeah. So the Indian rupees standing has grown, strength has grown. Similarly, the Chinese yuan, the Russian ruble have all strengthened. Yeah. You may see the various currency exchange rates and all, and you will see it's not doing well and all. Look at the big picture. If you look at the fluctuations of currencies on a day-to-day basis or a month-to-month basis, you will not see the real picture. The big picture is that the non-dollar currencies like the rupee, the ruble, and the yuan, especially, maybe even the real, are now becoming significant alternatives to the US dollar. Not yet. It could happen, especially if they could combine their strengths and create a basket currency like the BRICS currency which is being proposed. If something like that happens, it's going to be a big blow to the US dollar and to the euro. The euro is essentially, controlled by the US. So the moment this happens and there is an alternative for the world, and it's a real viable alternative, a currency that is backed by a basket of genuine commodities, not promises and debt, then the world will be more inclined possibly to start using that currency. If that currency is a proxy for gold, if the currency is based on a genuine basket of commodities, and then the US dollar, even if they keep printing it, it will become, if there is a genuine alternative available, then the US dollar will lose that strength that it has. And then it will be difficult for these foreign powers, Western powers, to fund these anti-India activities to the amount at least that they are doing right now. Yeah. So we have to strengthen our currency. We have to strengthen our economy. We have to maybe join forces with certain other nations and create an alternative system. You do that, then the current system will become weakened. There is a global desire, it looks like, for moving away from the US dollar. We have had people have had enough of the US dollar and the hegemony of the Americans. So if that happens, then the strength, the power of the US dollar will become significantly weakened. I won't say that it will evaporate overnight. If it evaporates, then the anti-India activities will cease. They will stop. Yep. Because most of it is being done through the US dollar. I would say almost all of it. So that is the thing. So for these anti-India activities to stop, India needs to get stronger. The Indian economy needs to cross $5 trillion and then $10 trillion of annual GDP. That's number one. We need to get stronger. Once that happens, we will be in a stronger position to negotiate diplomatically and to safeguard our interests. A weak nation is open to all kinds of external interference. A strong nation can push back. So India needs to get stronger and stronger and stronger. That's what needs to happen. I understand people are not happy that the government is not doing this or doing that, but the government sees things and knows things that we are not able to see. I can guess at what those things are. I don't know what I don't have the specific details, but I understand how the world works. So we have to understand that there are lots of things out there that we are not able to see. It's all lying in plain sight. The more you study, the more you analyze, the more visible it becomes. But that's how it is. So the funding is all through the US dollar. As the US dollar weakens, the funding will also weaken. Yeah. So India needs to rise. India needs to get stronger. That's the deal.